Welcome to this second day of the webinar of the online refresher training from the 2Cs. I am Gianluca Ferreri from the Project Unit Coordinator. Happy to see, I think all of you that were registered or the vast majority are also here for this morning. I will recall how will we work today, which is slightly different from yesterday if you were present in yesterday's webinar as well, because we will start with 3 parallel sessions, and then we will have a joint plenary session as a session 4, so-called. You can see on the screen also the presenter and chat moderator of this session, while Pedron will present, and Alexis Divar, you can see named conference room 6, and Kathleen is also there, and she will moderate the chat. For any content related question, please chat to Kathleen. If you will have any technical issues or technical related questions, then you can chat to Sergi Batlier, who is also among the participants here today. Is our IT officer. I will ask you to switch off your video as it will be easier for the bandwidth connection, so that also in terms of presentation you will have no problem. And your microphones are also switched off by default. It's not because we don't want you to interact. We want to interact, and you can interact via the chat. But as we are many, it will be not doable to do it via the microphone. So you can chat, and in the session 4 there will be also sort of quiz to interact. In the chat, you can raise your questions so that you can. We will bring it to the presenter so that he or she will be able to answer to your questions. So I already said chat content related to Kathleen, and technical question, IT related question to Sergi. Last but not least, you have in the chat the link to the session, to the French and the Dutch session. If you, by mistake, landed here, but you want to participate to the Dutch session, you have received an email this morning before 9 with the right link and with all the identifications you need to enter the Dutch session. To my knowledge, has just started right now. So again, the Dutch speaker who want to participate to session 3, cost eligibility and claim submission in Dutch, they can leave this room and go to the other room, either by clicking to the link you have received via email this morning. There was an issue with the link yesterday for the Dutch link. So, but this morning before 9, you just received a link, and from the chat, and then leave this meeting, and then you will be able to come back for after the break to session 4. The same goes for the French session. If you want to attend the session on cost eligibility and claim submission in French, you can do that. You had the link yesterday evening via email. This was correct. But in case you landed here nonetheless, you can go back to the email you have received yesterday, and or copy paste the link you can see on the chat to the French room, which also has just started. All right, so here it will be the plenary room and the room for the English session about cost eligibility. So you here again, you see the slide with the links. So in case you want to attend the French session, you copy paste the link of the French session, you leave this room and you go to the other room. And in case you want to go to Dutch session, you go there. If you want the English session, you are in the right room, you stay here. And then after the cost eligibility session, there will be a break, a coffee break, and you will have 15 minutes to relax and to go back to come here back to this session, so the plenary session. All right, so I think we are right on time, even slightly earlier. So maybe I take, sorry for the repetition, but I see again people arriving, so I will repeat also, so that also the latest arrival do have the right information. So if you are here but you want to attend the French session on cost eligibility, you need to copy paste the link to of the French session that is reported in the chat. You will not be able to copy paste it from the slide, but on the chat you can see it, or you have it on your email that you received yesterday. If you want to attend, your Dutch, the session in Dutch, then you just received an email this morning before 9 with the correct link. And if you can't find the email, you have it also in the chat, the link. Right? I see someone has got a little bit of trouble to hearing well. Indeed, please, can you all switch off the camera except the speaker and Kathleen? All participants, please switch off your camera because it takes a bit of bandwidth and it may be a little bit troublesome for some of you. Otherwise, I think that you can hear me well. While maybe you can confirm that you can. Okay,
yes.
right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you, Wild. Well, then I will hand over to the speaker. Alexi will start, and then Wild will follow. And Kathleen, you can all chat to Kathleen in terms of content-related chat. Kathleen will take the chat question from the chat, and will take the floor every now and then to bring it to the attention to the speaker and share it with everyone. Thanks again for joining and enjoy your cost eligibility and claim submission session. I know that it's not as sexy and as other topics, but very important topics. So please, why then, Alexi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gianluca, and welcome everyone. We will try to make it as pleasant as possible. So, as already said, today we will talk about cost eligibility and claim submission in English. Well, can you pass to the next slide, please? So, before starting, a brief overview of what we're going to talk about today. So we'll go through, first of all, the cost eligibility, the financial claim general principles, how to submit a claim, how a FLC control check works, the submission of the claim to the lead partner, and we will finish with the claim submission full process and your questions if you have any. So regarding the cost eligibility, first of all, we can start with the levels of eligibility rules. As you can see on the slides, the EU rules prevail on the program rules, followed by the national rules and the partner institutional rules. Now, regarding the conditions for cost to be eligible, there are a few points of attention we would like to mention today. First of all, your costs have to be related, obviously, to activities foreseen in the application form. They also have to be necessary to achieve the project output and results. Obviously, they have to be reasonable, justified, this is very important, and consistent with the applicable rules as text. They have to be verifiable with the accounting principles. And last point of attention, they have to be incurred and paid between the project approval date and the project end date. If you need more information on that, you can also have a look at our fact sheet 8 in our webinar, but we will talk about that a bit later again. Now, if we move on to the next slide, we will talk about the general principles of the financial claims. So first of all, the purpose. Well, the most important for you, I guess, is to receive RDF, to receive money. And it's also important to monitor your financial performance. I will not insist on this point for now because we already had a session about that yesterday. But if you have any question, of course, you can always ask and we will be pleased to answer to that. Now, regarding the deadlines to submit a financial claim, we have 4 deadlines available, the 31st of January, the 30th of April, the 31st of July, and the 31st of October. It's important at project level that partners must submit to their FLC sooner than the deadline to get it checked before being able to send to the LP. To give time basically to your FLC to check your claim. Now, we also write that the financial claims are mandatory. You need to claim at least once per year per partner. Why this is important? Basically, it's important because in case this rule is not complied with, the ERDF payments to the entire partnership will be suspended until things have been rectified. So we really insist on that point. You need to claim at least once per year for every partner of your project. We obviously always try to send reminders to the lead partner and to the project to remind of this, but keep that in mind. So now we will move to the claim completion, and I will give the floor to Weil for this.
Okay, thank you, Alexis. Good morning, everyone. So through the following slides, the idea is to cover the different steps to complete and submit a financial claim. So the blue bar on the bottom of the slide refers to EEP user guide that we've drafted, which is available on our website and provides all the information about the claim submission, claim check, and the payment process as a whole. So I'll go through each tab of the financial claim process on the EEP and try to gather all the elements to bear in mind when completed. So here we are at the stage that you've just logged in the EEP and you've created your claim. So before completing your claim, so elements to bear in mind again, a recommendation would be to start by looking at the project application form and to check if the data is still up to date for the contact person, for example, the VAT status, the stated status, etc. If it's not the case, then inform your FLC and the lead partner about the required change. Another recommendation would be that we would say that you'll have to check the budget you foresaw in the application form in order not to deviate when you start completing the claim. So basically what that means, what is your total budget per work package and per budget line, and where do you stand? So before you start completing the claim, that would be helpful. So we move on to the, if you see on top of the slide, the different tabs to the general elements. So in the general elements tab, you have 2 main ones that are required, which are the procurement and the contribution. So if you need to report one of them, you add it by clicking on the plus button. And for your information, you must complete the procurement table if the related amounts for the services procured are above EU thresholds, but we have some flexibility for amounts below those thresholds. So in general, also for contribution. So here to share some mistakes that we've experienced so far with the project partners is that the procurement table, for example, is completed mistakenly. For example, with staff members' information, even though this procurement table, as its nature, should be only filled for external costs of the organization. Another thing would be the procurement table that is not completed at all. And we would recommend it to complete it even for external costs below the EU thresholds, as it will prove to be useful when you have to follow up on the procurement. The external contribution, so what we've called in the past the match funding, the related table is not completed at all. Again, completing it has proven to be useful as well, especially during on-the-spot visits, for example, where the FLC will clearly ask you if any contribution has been received so far. So here, still in the process of going through the different tab, for each and every project expenditure incurred and paid, you'll have to declare it on the EP by clicking obviously on the plus expenditure button that you can see on the just below the arrow. A point of attention here is to make sure that you allocate the cost to the appropriate budget line and work package to avoid any issues such as the flexibility rule if you exceed it by claiming too much or spending too much in one of the budget line or the work package. And if you expect that this will happen, we would definitely recommend you to inform your LP and first level controller beforehand. So to go through the expenditure tab a bit further, first, basically you've picked the right budget line. And one point of attention here for budget line 1, staff cost, and those organizations that selected the 20% flat rate, budget line 1 will not appear because of the flat rate automatic calculation. For budget line 5, another point of attention, we would like you to pay extra attention when you declare that an equipment is supposed to be considered as a key component of an output. I will not go through again the definition of it, but this is important because when you claim that this is the case, it has to be a key component. So it cannot be a minor equipment such as a USB drive, I'm talking by experience, or minor lab equipment like test tubes, dispensers, and so on. So if you claim that the equipment is a key component, then it must be explicitly linked to an output number, because this is the meaning of the key component. It should refer and it should be necessary to deliver the output, as per mentioned in the application form. So if this is the case, then you inform your FLC as well about the equipment to be considered as a key component. Bottom, on the financial details. So after you've selected your budget line, you will be requested to select the currency and the contribution type, as well as the applicable VAT, value-added taxes. You'll have to select the currency in which the organization has eventually paid the expense, not the employee. And as a reminder, when the cost is declared in another currency than euro, the EEP, the platform, will automatically convert the cost using the official European Central Bank exchange rate of the months when the claim is submitted to the FLC. For the contribution, it can be cash or in-kind, but if you declare in-kind contribution, it must be foreseen in the application form. Otherwise, you'll have to amend the application form to make those costs eligible. And for the VAT, we expect you to be consistent with the application form, meaning that if there is a change, you have to report it to the FLC and to the Joint Secretariat. As a reminder of the VAT, let's say, process, only the non-recovered VAT is eligible to our program. And if your organization recovers it, you can add the VAT in the box, as you can see there, but the final amount should be net of VAT. And then we move on to the costs that have been excluded. As you know, the lead partner, the Joint Secretariat, and the certifying authority can exclude any eligible cost, and this is done in block, let's say, because we don't isolate the specific costs, one line of expenditure, but we exclude at the level of the work package and the budget line. So it's like a pack of costs. So all excluded costs will appear in the table, as you can see on the slide, the first one, the table list of previously excluded expenditure items. So if after clarification with the FLC and the Joint Secretariat, the excluded cost is eventually eligible, then you can declare it again, and you'll basically tick it and click on redeclare selected, and it will be displayed on the new cost page. Then we move on to the other tab, the expenditure outside the program area. As you know, the 2Cs program has a specific, like any cross-border program or EU program or EU territorial program, a specific program area. So whenever you have an expenditure that relates to a travel outside the program area, you'll have to report it in the tab expenditure outside the program area. The reasoning is to indicate which part of the claim has to be labeled outside the program area. As a reminder, the 4 capitals of the 4 member states composing the program, so Brussels, Paris, Amsterdam, and London, are outside or considered outside the program area. So this applies to them as well. So if you travel there, it means that you'll have to report it as outside. If your organization is already located outside the area, it happens, you're not concerned by this section as your budget is already considered fully as outside the program area. So last but not least comes the reconciliation section. The basic, let's say the minimum, is that every cost that has been declared has to relate to an activity of the application form. We expect here then that the partner organization, at least from them, that the information, some information that allows this reconciliation between the cost declared and the related activities. So the common mistakes we see is that, for example, we will have not applicable marked as a description of for all the work packages in which cost are even declared, or we have some non-trustworthy information, for example, staff cost mentioned in all work packages, or just barely copy-paste of the same info for all work packages, despite the fact that some work packages have no cost and so on. So just be consistent, clear, and transparent, because here what happens is that whenever there is something to clarify, we'll have to stop the payment process and to make sure that we're on the same page of what happened between, for the cost declared, what happened basically in terms of activities. So please pay attention to this section. The next slide now will cover the following steps, so to speak, the effective submission of your claim to your FLC. And for this, I will pass the floor again to my colleague, Alexis.
Thank you, Wild. Maybe before continuing, we can take a short break and see if there are any questions until now, because I cannot see anything in the chat, but maybe Kathleen received any questions. I don't know.
No, for now, I haven't received any particular questions. We have some that we received from the registrations. Some of them concern the EEP. One was, how can we follow up? Is there a feature to have a live forecast of the budget in the EEP? I don't know if one of you want to answer that question.
I can take it. For the live forecast, there is no specific tool. At the level of the EEP, what we can provide you is the cumulative expenditure at the level of the project. But to have more specific information, I would recommend you and the partner organization that asked this question to use what we call the financial monitoring tool, which might help. But it will not give you a forecast because this is in your hand, I would say, but it can help you to have the level of spending, the cumulative spending at the level of the partner organization, the work package, and the budget line. And this tool is something that we've created. It's a spreadsheet that is available on our website.
Yeah, and maybe there is the Excel tool and the guidance also to help you use it. I think that for the EEP, that's the only question I received. I'm just looking at the chat.
There's one to everyone, yes.
Yeah. Does the proportional part of staff costs that takes place outside the program area have to be declared in the outside program area tab. So I would imagine if someone goes on a trip to another member state, or to outside the program area, are staff costs considered as expenditure outside the GCs area?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It depends. If I may reply. Anyone that would like to is free. For this one, it depends on the organization. If it was already mentioned initially or not. If it was also, mentioned in the application form. If not, that might be something to clarify. Was this organization already labeled as outside the program area? But to me, this is something that has to be reported outside, because the general rule of the expenditure outside the program area is that every activities that occurred outside is to be reported or labeled as outside, basically.
Okay, and is there a way to submit and upload all the evidence related to financial claims in the EEP?
That's another question.
Yeah, that's another question, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. On the EP, no, there is no way to upload any evidence, and this applies to the annual progress report and the financial claim. You can submit annexes or evidence. No, not really evidence, but annexes for the application form. But evidence for expenditure or activities are not. I mean, it would not be possible to accept so many evidence on the server. So this is something you have to send us by email when there is a submission. For the APR, for the financial claim, this is something between you and the first level controller, and it remains there.
Okay, thank you. And then there was another question regarding in-kind expenditure. So when you have in-kind expenditure for technical specialists, how is it best to demonstrate the value of this expertise without the payroll information? So I would imagine, how do you demonstrate the value of in-kind experts that you claim in your project?
Usually we say that we need an independent assessment of the cost. This is tricky because usually it's a case by case. So yeah, my first reply would be this: how to get this, perhaps through the market prices. But this independent assessment should be there to make sure that there is a reasonable cost behind those staff that will be provided for free to the project. This needs to be evidenced. And so I understand the question that there is no evidence at all of any staff, timesheets or staff cost.
I would imagine that they have a payroll, because it says without the payroll information. So if there is this payroll, this can be also.
But cannot be disclosed.
Maybe. I don't know if Stephen Johnson wants to clarify this case, or we can also discuss it with the officer of the project as such, if we maybe, so that we don't lose too much time in the presentation. But yes, it can be disclosed as it's a different external organization. It cannot.
It cannot. Okay. Yeah, that might be a case to discuss directly. Outside the meeting, because I have no clue for this at this stage.
As we said yesterday, for all the questions that are eventually very specific that we may not be able to answer right on spot, we will reply on a Q&A after the meeting. But I presume that what you just said at the beginning about the fact that we need to have an external assessment of the cost and sort of a certification of what would be the market price of that given expert.
Still applies.
It's already a path, yeah. But to be more precise, we can take this question for the Q&A after the meeting.
Okay, well then that's so far that the question that I received. So back to you, Alexis.
Yeah, I can, because I see that Steve wrote something else in the chat, but maybe we can follow up to that later on. Okay.
Yeah.
So continue on our presentation. Now I will talk about the FLC control check for the next two slides. So before you submit the financial claim to your FLC, you have to communicate with him or her on some aspects. First of all, have the gains the correct version of the application form for him to have the correct information at hand. For doing so, you can communicate the date of the modification approval to your FLC to facilitate his work. Now, second point of attention, are there any expenses that require specific attention? This can be, for instance, a change of contract for staff members, salary increase, or for instance, costs that were not foreseen specifically in the application form at first, but were incurred later on to adapt to the recent COVID situation. But there can be many other cases. Regarding the travel outside the eligible area, do you have a validation from the GS available as a reminder whenever you wish to travel outside the eligible area for a meeting or whatever reason? You already have to ask first for a validation from the lead officer and the review officer of your project, by generally speaking by email. Also, are the horizontal principle of the EU respected? It's important because your compliance with these horizontal principles will be reviewed, because the EU cannot finance organizations which do not comply with them. As a reminder, these principles are the equality between men and women and the non-discrimination. These points are important because by clarifying them to your FLC, you will make her or his check much more efficient, and you will also speed up the GS assessment process. You will basically avoid further requests. And that's it. Yeah. Also, you can speak about with your FLC if you have any cash flow issues, so that he or she can speed up the process. In the next slide, one more aspect to communicate with your FLC, and I will insist on that because we have many mistakes when we are checking from our side. It's the communication aspect. 3 points of importance. First of all, did your partnership opt for a project-specific logo or for a standard to CIS project logo? Did you develop a project website? And if yes, who is the partner in charge of it? And did you organize external events and/or did you publish any publications? If that's the case, you can always show him or her that you have respected the communication rules, for instance, using pictures, copy of the agendas, etc. Now, before submitting your claim, it is important to review the totals. Why this is important? Because once you submit, there is no way of sending the claim back to the organizations once it has gone out to the FLC. So be very careful before clicking on the button, and yeah, always double check whatever you write in your claim. We can move on to the next slide, I guess. Yeah. So to submit to the lead partner after the FLC check, you shall click on the button Confirm Validated Claim. Do not forget to do that, because if you do so, your expenses will not be taken into account in the project consolidated claim. And basically, you will have to wait for the next window to claim your expenses. It is important to click on this button also, very quickly, because it's a proof that the beneficiary takes responsibility for the partner financial claim, as well as the liability towards the program authorities. So yeah, next slide. So basically, this is the full process of a claim submission, starting from the bottom until the top. So we have already been through all of that. The light blue at the bottom is done in the EP, and the 3 last steps are done by us. It's important to know, first of all, that all the project partner can have to claim once per period, but they can claim more than once per period. So if you want to submit 1, 2, or 3 claims, it is obviously possible. Also, the dark blue part that you see from the GS point to the CA at the top is done in 90 days. Basically, the payment is done in 90 days. We have 90 days to proceed to the payment to the lead partner once we receive the consolidated claim from the lead partner. So now the next slide is about where to find help. So a few options are at your disposal. First of all, of course, you can always ask to the GS officer, your lead officer, your review officer if the lead is not present. You can also obviously contact your territorial facilitators. We have a few webinars available on our websites on budget lines or horizontal topics. You can use our program manuals, which is available in English, in French, and in Dutch. We also have the EEP user guide and some guidance on the financial monitoring tool. And that's it for this presentation. So we will be happy to discuss if you have any questions, any sharing of experience you would like to provide us with. And yeah, thank you for your attention until now.
Thank you, Alexis. We've got one question that regards the Belgian first level control system. So I assume the question is from a lead partner who is worried that the partner's claim will not be ready on time for the January financial claim. So what happens if because of delays in the first level control cell in Belgium, the partners cannot make it to the January claim, and that we discussed the fact that there is partners are obliged to claim at least once a year. So if they haven't done so for the whole year 2020 and that they miss the January claim because of issues and delays in the Flemish control cell, what happens is there going to be some flexibility from the joint secretariat because it puts the whole project as a risk since payments will be put on hold until these partners are able to submit a claim. So maybe we can answer that.
Who takes it? Okay, I'll go for it then. We are aware of the issue. That's something I think that needs to be clear on. So being aware of the issue, it's something that we are discussing with the Belgian first level control cell. They also know that it can be difficult for project partners to just to get the RDF back and not even the one claim per year. As far as we know, it should be solved in the following month, so it's not something that will be solved right now. Regarding the one claim per year requirement, we will take this into consideration, obviously. So what will happen is that in any case, we will have to suspend somehow the payment until the financial claim of the Belgian partner is submitted. But we believe that this might be somehow manageable, because in any case, when we will arrive at the January deadline, we will still have some weeks to treat the claim. And once we know that at least the claim from the Belgian partner is submitted to the LP, so for April claim, for example, so we would recommend to, in any case, to submit the January claim without the Belgian partner. Then we will proceed to the payment, and the April claim will be treated in priority. But at this stage, I don't see any other options. My recommendation would then be to submit, in any case, the January claim without the Belgian partner. We will be aware of the issue. And once we know that the FLC claim, the FLC has treated the claim and the claim is submitted to the lead partner, then we'll just proceed to the payment and treat the April claim in priority.
And just to add to what you just said, while indeed we are aware, because we maybe have other questions on the FLC, especially for the Belgium part, and we are aware that there are some delays problem recently. We are working with them closely to solve this, and yeah, we are doing our best from our side to avoid any delays in the treatment of your claims.
I think if I may also get there, the important message is that we won't let you down. It's not your fault if there are issues with FLC, especially centralized one. So we are fully on it, and we will not punish the project because of that. So
I think
they do their job, but we are on it, and we will find solutions. Kathleen?
Yeah, no, I think I lost you but for a minute, but that's okay. Now you're back.
I am back. The other while then, Alexi, you heard what I said?
Yeah, we heard. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So
That's
it wasn't at my level. There were a couple of extra questions, I think, in the general chat. I don't know if Kathleen you have seen.
Well, there was a question that's asked if the presentation was going to be sent, and I answered directly in the chat. Maybe another question that can be interesting is, can I complete and submit a financial claim as a partner before their project modification has been approved? And I think that can also be an interesting question if we say, how do we work on a financial claim when there is a modification open at the same time, and maybe discuss this issue a bit.
Yes. What we can say is that normally the claim and the modification are somehow disconnected. So even though we are treating or you are submitting a modification, you can still submit claims. One point of attention is that you'll have to make sure that within the modification, you're not, for example, decreasing your budget in some budget lines or some work packages where you're going now because you're currently completing a claim, submit costs that will exceed this reduced budget. So this is somehow the important point to keep in mind. Other than that, it's rather disconnected. So you can just claim as usual.
Yeah, and maybe just also to add to that, it's important that you communicate with your lead partners on what you're claiming, because if they're working on a modification in parallel, as well said, the system is going to recognize if there are big discrepancies between the amounts you enter in your modification and the claim. So just make sure your lead partners knows what you're doing, because sometimes he or she can be in a difficult situation if there's some big amounts that has been claimed, and it can actually block the submission of the modification. So just always be in close contact with the lead partner when you know that the modification is open at the moment. Okay, I don't know if there are any other questions in the chat. We have one from the registration that we haven't tackled on, which is related to COVID. What are the flexibilities that are going to be shown by the Secretariat regarding the COVID? Is it going to impact somehow the flexibility role? Are we going to be more flexible? Are we going to increase? I think the question was in that sense, are we going to increase the flexibility role because of the COVID? Or Alexia will leave you answer that.
It's not planned to change the flexibility rule percentage. What we have in mind, obviously, is the pandemic consequences. We take this into account. What I would suggest is that, again, anticipate if you have any issues in terms of flexibility rule, which means that you are really close to the 100% spending and even beyond per budget line and per work package. So if it's the case, then keep this in mind and talk to your lead partner to make sure that you're not about to exceed the 120% to go back to the flexibility rule. And if it's the case, then it's, I would say, between brackets, it's simple. We just do a technical modification and we increase the budget where needed. Of course, I said simple between bracket, but that means that we'll have to open the application form and to carry out some changes.
Okay, thank you. Well, I don't know if people have other questions to ask to Alexis and Wild on either the claiming process, the eligibility of specific costs, the EP. Don't hesitate to do so in the chat, either to me or even if it's on the public chat, that's not a problem. We have answered all the questions that we received so far. Just checking if I don't know. So another question is around alcohol. In previous ERDF programs I've worked with, it hasn't been eligible. Are there any restrictions within the 2Cs program?
It's it's a good question, but I would say that it's based on national rules. So I know that in Belgium it's eligible, or perhaps not. In any case, it's based on national rules. So based on the discussion with your FLC, make sure that you're on the same page before you trying to declare those costs that relate to alcohol.
Yeah, if it's eligible within your organization, then it will be eligible for the 2Cs program, but it's not the case for all member states indeed. And we've got a question about whether the recording will be available, and yes, we'll share the recording. Okay, so we've had quite some questions now. So about sharing a good practice, in the UK, we found that using secure online portals for sending evidence for FLC has worked well and supported positive in ways of working with colleagues as a result of working from home due to COVID. Yes, it's true that we've had to adapt because of COVID, because of working from home. We've also started accepting digital signatures for first-level certificates. So yeah, secure online portals, maybe that's also a good way to work through this context. Then there's a question on the access rights on the EP. If it is possible to review the EP access settings so that partner organization can choose which users will have access to full information or only to a limited set of data. For example, sometimes there's several persons at one organization responsible for financial reporting, and they fill in data for different budget lines. A staff cost can be confidential information. Thus, some organization would want to be able to choose which person can have access to expenditures in different budget line. Is that something that the EP allows?
That there will be specific rights for only one single person within the organization.
Exactly.
Not to my knowledge, it would be all the same for the organization.
Yeah, I think that the lead partner has specific rights, and then all project partners have the same rights, so same editing and viewing rights. Yeah, we had a comment from Joseph Foster, who is the territorial facilitators for the UK, who is here today, and he said that if there are partners who are worried about not meeting this mandatory one claim per year, they shouldn't hesitate to contact the territorial facilitators to see if they can be of any help. And it's true that 2 territorial facilitators per member state. Apart from France, there is only 1. So it's true, don't hesitate to contact them as well, along with your own project and finance officers from the Secretariat.
Maybe Kathleen, on that, sorry, I'm back. On that, maybe we can ask Joseph and Simon, who are both participating. If you can switch on your video. I can see Simon. Simon recently joined the network of facilitators, so he's working for MHCLG. Good morning, Simon. And some of you maybe already had contact with him. Otherwise, you can find his contact in the program website under a contact facilitator. He's there to help and to find out problems in order to find out solutions. So and Joseph, maybe most of the participants know him. Joseph is with us. It's about a year now, I think, in the network, also working for MHCLG. So also there to help you and try to find out solution where there are issues. So. Good morning, Joseph and Simon, and thanks for being there. So if you don't know neither Simon or Joseph, I encourage you to get in touch with them. They're very helpful in your daily work for sure, especially when it comes to this type of things on FLC and claiming there are sometimes specific national rules that they can help you, or they can help you find the way through the information or the right contact to the right organizations. If Joseph or Simon, you want to say anything next to that, and I can unmute you. If you like, you have to accept my request to unmute.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Gianluca. Yeah, just a very quick hello. I know I've been in touch with a number of projects already. I've got a few more still to contact, and I've been along to a couple of partner events, which are really interesting for me. But yeah, please, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch. My details are on the contacts tab on the 2C's website, and I'm happy to take a call or an email anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon.
Joseph. Everyone, just to echo what Simon said. So yes, any or anything like that, please do let me know as well. Since I came back from anti-COVID work elsewhere in MHCLG, Simon and I have getting in contact with a sort of new. Out and we'll.
Thank you, Joseph. That's some little trouble with your connection, I think, but we got the essential. So you have indeed the contact from Joseph and Simon on the website, and are a real asset to the program to have first-hand information, or at local level, especially national level. Yeah, Kathleen, Kathleen, I don't know if you still have some questions. Yes, please.
Yeah, I've got 2 questions. One on the FLC, the first level control system. Are there eventual plans to optimize the first level control system for future quotes or programs? Sometimes delays are rather long, and sometimes first level controllers are not really experienced. So are there thoughts or course any developments on how we can improve the first level control system in the future?
On this, I can give a bit of an answer. We are always trying to optimize the system, even now, meaning like we always have FLC seminars at least once a year. Usually, this year we were supposed to organize ones in the Netherlands, but with the actual pandemic, of course, our plans have been a bit cancelled and rescheduled. But yeah, we are always trying our best to optimize the system, and even for the Belgium FLC, because we talked about it a bit earlier. As I already said, we already had them over the phone to discuss the issues and to see if there were solutions to bring. So it never stops. We always try to optimize. Whenever they have a problem, I am always here because I am also in charge of the audit at the 2C Secretariat. So I'm always here to answer FLC's questions if they have any. Now for future calls or programs, I cannot answer because I don't have anything to say on that for now. But just do know that we are always trying to optimize the process and to make it as smooth as possible, and also remind that FLC also depends on national authorities, so it's not always in our reach to do so.
Thanks. There's another question. We talked about it a bit, but it's regarding expenditures outside the area. Does it relate only to travel or also to other budget lines such as the L4?
Usually it relates to travels, mainly, I would say. It can happen that this is really activities outside, and it could cover another budget line. So if it's the case, then you label them as such in the system. But so far, it's usually based on travels.
And maybe to add to that, if costs outside the eligible area haven't been indicated in the application form at the start, it's important to ask to the Joint Secretariat officers to validate these costs before these are made. So if you want to travel to a conference outside the eligible area and it hasn't been foreseen in your application form, you always need to ask the JS officers and to do so before you actually go, because we cannot approve costs that have been already made for a past travel. I think I have tackled all the questions that I received. So feel free to ask anything.
Yeah, also, I think, one of the aim of this session is also to share experiences. So maybe also in case you don't have questions and you feel like you want to share a best practice, for example, how you got organized with the timing with your FLC, how you sort out documents in a way that it's easy for you to report, anything like that, or any tricky points you had in your experience, please feel free to share, because we are also there as a community to grow, let's say, collectively. So maybe there's something I see in the chat.
There is something in the chat that says it's important to note that you have to add the outside program area cost to the expenditure tab as well as to the outside area tab, which is true. We showed the screenshot of this specific section in the EEP earlier on. I think it was Wild. So yeah, the cost will be included in the normal expenditure tab, but you also have to indicate them in the outside area tab. I know Wild.
Yeah, sorry, I hear an echo. This is what I meant by labeled. So you'll have, when you report the expenditure, to label it as expenditure outside. So it will be displayed as an expenditure, but we will be able to track it as expenditure outside the eligible area. As I said earlier, when your budget, when you are located outside the program area and you have been approved under a 2C program, your full budget is considered outside, let's say. But whenever you have something that will happen or will occur outside, then you'll have to report it as such. And this is done through the EP in the tab, so expenditure tab, expenditure outside the eligible area.
And maybe it's worth explaining why we need to track this.
Unfortunately, I would say it's just for statistical reasons from the Commission, as far as I know. So we need to track it somehow. And also, this is one. No, this is not the only reason. The other reason is also because we need, and member states obviously need that the money is spent within the program area. The investment, the EU fund, are spent within the area. So to show what is the worst somehow of the EU funding within the territories involved.
Maybe wide on that. I mean, yeah, it is statistics for us, but it's because there is a rule in the regulation, the European regulation, that says that any program cannot spend more than 20% of its budget outside the program area. So this is at program level. So that's why we need to track down at project level actually spent budget outside the program area, so that we need to report this figure at EU level, because the regulation indeed imposes us the 20% threshold.
If I may add something on this for your information, in the future regulation, this is going to be skipped normally. So we will not care anymore about the expenditure outside, but it's not yet the future. But just for information.
And especially because we are in the English session, so it might not apply to English partners. Who knows? We still don't know the future.
We still don't know.
We've got another question again on eligibility outside the program area. If equipment has been bought outside the program area, for example, computing equipment, has it to be claimed as expenditure outside the program area? I would imagine it means whether you're using it, if you're using it in the 2Cs area, but you bought it outside. So
yeah, it's fine. It will be just a regular expenditure. It will be different if you have like an investment or something that is built outside and the majority of the activity of the related project is carried out outside, then this becoming like an activity outside the program area and related cost outside the eligible area. But if you buy something from China, for example, and you use it in Flanders or I don't know, in England, then it's just a 2Cs cost, not labeled as outside the eligible area.
Thanks. Okay. Well, I think we've tackled everything. Are there any other questions you would like to ask to Wilder and Alexis?
While people are thinking about last minute questions, we still have some time. We foresaw to stop this session at 10:45 or 9:45 UK time. So you still have 15 minutes if you wish. Just to recall, in terms of practical aspect, we will send via email, and we will also do a news in the program website with, let's say, a proceeding, a sort of proceeding of material from the event, both day 1 and day 2. So yes, you will find the PowerPoint presentation available. You will find this will take a little bit more time because we need some working, but the idea is that you will have also access to the video recording we are doing. So all the material will be available for you. There were things quoted in terms of documents or tools available in the program website. So you can go to the program website and look for those documents. In the PowerPoint, I think there will also links to that, or we can anyhow include it in the material. We'll send it after the meeting. So that's and also again in terms of practical details, as soon as we'll stop this session, we'll have a 15 minutes break or 30 depending when we stop, but we'll start again at 11 with the whole plenary session. Yes, I see here. So where to find help, you can see. So yes, the contact page in the program website of JS officers and territorial facilitators. Then you have webinars, specific webinars on budget lines and other topics, horizontal topics like state aid, for example. You have very useful webinars there from the JS, and then there's a program manual, of course. There's a user guide, EEP user guide, how to the various steps on how to claim costs if you are not familiar with the EEP, electronic exchange platform. And then there's the financial monitoring tool, as while evoked before in the presentation. So it's an Excel tool that automatically calculates, for example, the 20% flexibility rules. So it's a very handy Excel tool to have an overview of the advancements, let's say the progress of your partnership, especially if you are a lead partner, but also in case of you are a project partner, it can be very useful. Of course, there you have to insert the data, the basic data, but then you have lots of interesting calculation without the need for you to create. And that's where to find helps. I don't know if there are further chats. Yes, there's one at the moment.
Can you please write us the official webpage of the program and where we can find all the information documents? Well, I can just add this to the chat. Well, if you continue speaking, I'll just copy paste the link. And
so we'll be in the chat in a second. No pressure, Kathleen. It's live streaming, so it's like in TV. In the meantime, if you still have new things you want to share, or other topics, or other recurrent issue you had in the past with to share with your colleagues of the 2Cs community, please feel free to do it via the chat. I saw there were also very experienced participants here, so maybe also they want to share their experience or give some tips to the eventually more newcomers.
Just Gianluca, if I may, so I just copy paste the link. It will bring you directly to the section on documents, and then you can select some sort of profile, so project partner, project applicant, first level controller. All the documents that we mentioned here, so the EEP user guide, financial monitoring tool, program manual, etc., are under the profile project partner. And then if you want to have a look at the webinars that we mentioned, it's on another page that I will copy in the chat right now. It's called under video. If you go in the menu bar on top of the website, and if you scroll down, first you've got some very good videos from our project. And then after, you've got the program videos with the different webinars that we produced.
And if anyone wants to speak instead of chatting, you can also raise your hand via clicking on the pictogram of your hand, and we can be able to see that you want to speak, and in that case we can unmute your microphone. I'll give also this last possibility for sharing expertise, and while we admit people. Otherwise, as we are a little bit in advance, we'll take 2 minutes more to do a little experiment. What you could do is I'll ask you to switch on your video, everybody who can, and then in the bottom of the page there is an emoticon, like the reaction that you can provide to this session already. Maybe while you can stop sharing your presentation so we can see everyone big on the screen. And then as soon as you are in your video, and nice, we see faces, so it's also nice to see that. Sorry, we cannot do it for the whole for the whole webinar. It will be too heavy for the system to bear it. But it's great to see people. And if you want to click on the button on the bottom, there is an emoticon. You can click on it, and there is 8 possibility for a quick reaction to this very first financial session. So please choose also the bad ones. If you are not happy, just go ahead. There's no good. We see positive so far. All right. Well, it looks like a positive reaction. Wild and Alexi and Kathleen, you did a good job.
Yeah.
Good,
Thank you.
good.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And nice to see faces as well. So, right. That's very nice. Thank you for playing the game, this little game. So people are happy. I see smiling. I hope you have enjoyed and you got some learning with you. We will send anyhow for the whole webinar like a survey to rate the seminar and to share anything you want to share about improvement or things you missed in this seminar. You want to have it, or even just to say that you find it useful and you want to have it another one in 6 months. This we can also have it as a feedback. It's always good to know, and if we see interest, we will do it again. We are there to make project work, so it's our job to help you. So in the meantime, then, if we are done with I'm looking at the chat. Maybe Kathleen can help. Yes, there are some last. Yes, please, Kathleen.
No, yeah, it was just that 8 a.m. in the UK was a bit early for a next seminar. So yeah, we can think about that. It's always tricky when we've got different times for participants to start at. Another question maybe for Weldon and Gianluca, go ahead if you want to react.
No, about this chat. I mean, I think it was the one you wanted to quote from Lorraine.
Yeah, and then I was gonna for Weldon and Alexi, what information do you need to provide as evidence for travel expenses when you drive to attend an event and claim mileage? And also for attending webinars and online training when there is no cost except for staff time to attend. So what kind of evidence do you need to support these costs?
For the first one, for the travel by car, in any case, and also for the other one would be the agenda of the event, a proof somehow that you've been that you've attended the event, like a participants list, where I mean, any other documents or screenshots, or I don't know how you can provide this when it comes to an online event, but it might be possible. For the mileage in England, I know in France and in Belgium, at least, and in the Netherlands, I'm not sure, but you always have like what we call the chevaux fiscal horses. I don't know if that makes sense, but that might be the way you can connect how much that it costs for you to travel and the final cost for the organization, not the employee. So when you have to do the reimbursement, when the employee is asking for reimbursement for the use of the car, personal car, if that's the example or the question, then the cost that has been finally borne by the organization is the one that has to be submitted to the program. For now, this is the kind of evidence. So fiscal horses, agenda of the event, travel. So maybe the number of kilometers from the place where you departed to the place you've arrived. Yes, so far, and proof that you've participated in the event. For the online training, when there is no cost except for staff time to attend. If there is no cost, then you can just claim the staff time. Usually we're not so I mean, we don't use the same. I mean, we don't need the same, and the FLC doesn't need the same evidence for stuff. I don't know. Yeah, regarding the travel. For staff time, it will be the timesheets as usual and employment contracts and so on. But as long as it relates to the activities, you don't necessarily need to provide the online event training evidence and so on. That will be my first reply. That's it's true. It's quite of a tricky one. Yeah, Kathleen, if you want to add anything, just feel free.
I was just going to say that if your FLC asks for it, most softwares allows you to so for attending online seminars and online events, most software allow you to download some sort of a virtual participant list. I know that the one we use enables us to do so, and I think other softwares also create and generate a participant list. So if your FLC asks for it, you can always ask the event organizer for this proof of participation to the online event. And yeah, that's now for now we don't have any more questions in the chat, but feel free to ask. We still have a bit of time.
In that case, I mean, this session anyhow will stay open because it's the plenary. So in case you have question that pops in your mind during the break, you can always chat it, and then we will take it. Probably not when we come back because it will be another topic, but we will have it in our records for the Q&A, the written one after the meeting. So you can, that's always possible. And just to confirm to Olivera, who chatted me privately, yes, we will share the slides for everybody via an email and an info to the event. And I see Wildo clarifies that fiscal holes are actually tax horsepower. So yes, that's also that's also what comes with Interreg and EU funded programs is the Euro English. So sorry about that. That's a bit of a inevitable, especially on some technical, very technical. Yes, Kathleen.
Sorry. So due to COVID, one partner indicated that the travel costs are much less than anticipated. So they're going to claim less budget. Who do we need to inform?
Maybe while you can take it. It's about the lead partner and the chain with JS about flexibility rules and all that. I presume. you don't manage to unmute. Let's see.
Right, I can take it. Otherwise, if you're.
Yes, there's an issue there. As you wish, Kathleen. Either you take it. Or, yeah, go ahead, Kathleen.
If you know in advance you're going to claim less, either you know that you will have higher costs for activities that will be needed, and you can transfer this money to other budget lines, or you can transfer it to other partners within your partnership. You have the flexibility rule that will allow you to tailor your budget to the activities implemented. So if you have less BL3 foreseen, but other costs increase, then you can transfer these costs. If you know in advance that you're not going to claim them, you can always inform your JS officer. If needed, we can do a project modification, and this money would be put back, if you want, in a common pot and shared with other projects that will need it. And I think in these times, the money will be well spent if you're able to release any unused funds.
Thank you, Kathleen. I think there are no more questions in the chat or unanswered one. So what I would propose, as we are now approaching 1 minute to the break, we can make the break.